Bez Hashem Yisborach, I will begin Masechet Eruvin, Daf Beis Amud Aleph. And before we start the Masechta, perhaps a short introduction on some of the concepts that we'll be learning here. As we know, a Malach Deraisa, it's an Isser Deraisa to be mitzi from Rishus HaYochid to Rishus HaRabim, or bring in from Rishus HaRabim to Rishus HaYochid, or to carry Dalet Ames or throw Dalet Ames in Rishus HaRabim. The Rabbanan enacted several safeguards so that we don't come to be Oiver Chas V'Shalom this Isser Deraisa. And part of that is that it's also to carry from Rishus HaYochid to a Carmelis, and from a Carmelis to Rishus HaYochid. And they instituted many gzeres. It's also to carry in a chotzer without eruv chatzeres, and it's also to carry in a movoi without a tikkun in a movoi. What is a movoi? Typically, the way the houses were situated in those days is that you had houses that were opened into a chotzer, and a chotzer opened up into a side street called a movoi. And what we're discussing over here is where the movoi was closed on four sides. So it was closed on four sides, and it was open to a Rishus HaRabim. It was open to the street. So you'd have houses open to a chotzer. There are houses that open to a chotzer, and from the chotzer, from the courtyard, there was a entranceway, and it was opened up into this side street. The side street, midaraisa, if it's closed on three sides, it would have a din of a Rishus HaYochid. So really carrying from the house to the chotzer, from the chotzer to the movoi, midaraisa, all of that would be mutter. The Rabbanan instituted gzeras because it has the appearance of carrying from Rishus HaYochid to Rishus HaRabim. A house is a private ownership, and these other areas are common ownerships. So from a house to a chotzer, it's a one person owns the house, he carries it to a chotzer, which is owned jointly by several people. It is used in common, so it has the appearance of carrying from Rishus HaYochid to Rishus HaRabim. A movoi has chatzeres, batim, that are open to the chatzeres, which are open to the side street. So it has the impression of carrying from a Rishus HaYochid to Rishus HaRabim. So the Rabbanan said you cannot carry in the movoi. Additionally, they said that we're afraid if you carry in the movoi, you'll continue carrying onto the street. And that is carrying from Rishus HaYochid to Rishus HaRabim. So there are different takonas that are in place. You need to have a sheet of mavois that allows you to carry from the chotzer to the movoi to the side street. In addition, there has to be a takana on the entranceway, on the opening to the movoi to the street. There has to be a takana, either with a lechi, a vertical post, or a kaira, which is a crossbeam. So initially, on our Mishnah, we're going to be talking about the kaira, the crossbeam. So this crossbeam has to have, there's certain halachas that are associated with it. The first halacha that the Mishnah is going to discuss in terms of this crossbeam is how high can it be. Now, this has to have the tzura of a Pesach. It has to be like an opening. It can't be viewed as a breach in the wall that this is broken, and that it's broken into the Rishus HaRabim, and that it opens to, it's a breach that opens to the Rishus HaRabim, because then it would be viewed as part of the Rishus HaRabim. This has to be viewed as a distinct area separate from the Rishus HaRabim. So we'll get into more of the lamdas in this as we go through the Masechta. The halachi and the kaira, it's mishum heker, it's mishum mechitza, etc. We'll have discussions about it. But the very basic halacha that we're discussing firstly in this Mishnah is this kaira, this crossbeam, in order it to be kosher, cannot exceed a certain height. What is that height? So again, here's the Rishus HaRabim. The house is open to the chotzer, which open to this movoi, this enclosed side street over here, or alleyway. and now people come from here and they go to the Dirshu and they go to the public street, to the Dirshu. In order to carry within this alleyway, within the side street, this movui, you need a takana of a kaira, a crossbeam. So the Mishnah now will discuss the particulars of this halacha of the kaira. So the Mishnah. Mavoi, if you have a mavoi, so if the entrance of the mavoi should go amma, if it's higher than 20 amas, you have to lower it. You have to lower the kaira. The kaira, the crossbeam, has to be lowered. It can't be that high. So it has to be lowered within 20 amas. Rabbi Yehuda says no, it does not have to be. And if the entranceway is wider than 10 amas, it also has to be lessened. The opening, you have to make sure that it's enclosed more, that it doesn't have a width of more than 10. So if you have your either which way, if you have the height, if the height is more than 20 amas, this has to be lowered. If it is wider than 10 amas over here, then that's not considered to be a Pesach anymore. It's no longer an entranceway. It's considered to be a pirza. It's considered to be a breach. It's considered to be broken open. Therefore, if this area over here is wider than 10, you have to increase the width of the walls so that it is no longer wider than 10. So this has to be thickened so that you don't have a width wider than 10. But if you have a tzuras HaPesach, if you have a entranceway, a doorway has two side posts, and it has two side posts, two mezuzahs, and it has a mashkaf. It has a lintel on top. So if you have two side posts over here, the meshlet tzuras HaPesach, if it has the opening, if it has the two side posts, a doorway, and it has the appearance of a doorway, even if it does have a width of more than 10, you don't have to thicken the walls. It can have a wider opening because it has the appearance of an entranceway, because it has the two side posts. And then when you put the crossbeam on top, this has the appearance of a Pesach. And therefore, even if it does have this type of a width, even if it does have a width of more than 10, it's still kosher because it's a Pesach. It has a tzuras of Pesach. So the basic halacha, according to the Chachomim, is that it's not a Pesach if it is higher than 20 amas. And the Rabbi Yehuda says, no, it does, even if it has higher than 20. If it's wider than 10, it also doesn't have the appearance of an entranceway, and it has to be minimized. But if you have a tzuras HaPesach, then it's kosher. Back to Gemara, Tanan Hasam, we learned the Mishnah in Sukkah, Tanan Hasam Sukkah, she givay l'mala me'esrim ama psula, that a Sukkah, if it's higher than 20 amas, is possible, Rabbi Yehuda Machshir, and over there it says Rabbi Yehuda is Machshir. Now there's a difference in the language. Over here it says that the Movi, it has a similar language, it says a Movi which is higher than 20. It doesn't say that it's psula, it says yimayid. It tells us what you should do. You should lower it. Over there, it says it's psula, and reviewed as machshir. Why over here in our Mishnah, it says what the eitzah is, it says what is the remedy, it says yimayid. It says that you lower it. And over there, it doesn't say what the eitzah is, it says psula. Now, Tosfos points out that really it requires an explanation. Why does our Mishnah start off by saying we don't even know the basic halachas yet of a movi. We don't even know yet, the Tana has not taught us yet, that you need either a lechi or you need a kaira. We haven't learned the basic halachas over here, and it's telling a detail, a particular halacha, that the kaira, if it's higher than 20 amas, you might. So Taisa says and explains it. That's part of what the Gemara's kasha is now. The reason the Tana does it this way is because he wants to keep it somewhat consistent and similar to the language that's used with the Mishnah in Sukkah. So therefore, it coincides with the Mishnah in Sukkah, which has a very similar language. And based on that, the Gemara's kasha is fine. So why is there a discrepancy there, however, between the Lashon in Sukkah and the Lashon we have over here? So for the Gemara, why over there by Sukkah it says psula? It doesn't say what the takan is. It doesn't say what the eitzah is that you have to lower it. And over here, it's tani takanta. Gemara answers Sukkah daraisa tani psula. Sukkah, which is a daraisa, so it says pos. Meaning, the way the Rishonim explain it is, we already know that Sukkah, the halachas, we know halacha l'Moshe Sinai, we know some of these halachas. So we're aware of the halachas, so we can say right away that it's psula if it's too high. Over here, we don't yet know, we're not yet familiar with the basic halachas, so it tells you the takana. We're not yet familiar with the basic halacha that it can't be so high, so it just tells us that you lower it. It tells us the takana. It tells us what the takana is to lower it. Mavoi d'Rabbana tani takanta. Vivoi same the Gemara answers the Raisa nami tani takanta. Even by the Raisa would also say the takana ela sukkah and the fish and mile pasuk tani psula. Sukkah, it has the various different halachas that are involved over there. The discussion over there deals with the schach. If it doesn't give more shade than sun. If it gives more sun than shade, it has the number of walls that are required. So it can't tell you the takana without elaborating and getting very involved, and therefore it'll be cumbersome and difficult for the person learning to absorb it. So it tells you in a clear-cut fashion, it says psula. So over there, by Sukkah, where it's in the fish and mile, it just says psula. But Mavidullah in the fish and mile, we don't have these different various halachas that are associated with it. It can tell us very clearly and simply, it could tell us the takana is to lower it. So tani takanta, so Mavzallah in the fish and mile, tani takanta, so it says the takana. Omer Rav Yehuda Rav Chachamim lo lamdu elam pischa shel heichel. Rav Yehuda lo lamdu elam pischa shel ulam. Well, what is the basis of this machlokes that we have over here, whether it can be higher than 20 amas or not? So the basic halacha is that it has to be a Pesach. As the Ritva explains over here, that the opening has to have a din of a Pesach. If it's too high and it's not considered a Pesach, then you cannot carry in that movi. The movi is considered to be open to the Rishus Harabim and not separate from the Rishus Harabim. So it has to be that the entranceway has a din of a Pesach. Where do we find what is called a Pesach? So we find that in the Mishkan, the Torah calls it a Pesach oil moed. Now, so the question is, we have different heights. There's a different height of an ulam, and we have a different height of the heichal. And the heichal in the base of Mikdash, we had the heichal where the inner area where you had the Mizbeach and the Shulchan and you had the ante room, the Heichal, which was in front of it. So do we learn out from the Pesach of the Heichal or from the Pesach of the Ulam? And they had different heights. The height of the Ulam was higher than the height of the Heichal. So that's basically the machlokes. Disnan Pischa Shel Heichal. What was the height of the Heichal? Pischa Shel Heichal Gava Esrim Amma. The height of the Heichal was 20 amas high, the Roch Veser amas, and the width was 10. So therefore, you learn out from there that a Pesach is 10 by 20. Vishal ulam go arba'im amma v'rach ve'esrim. And the ulam has a height of 40 and a width of 20. Ushneim mikrecha darshu. And they both, the Chum and Rabbi Yehuda, they both learn it out from the same pasuk, and they base their halacha accordingly. It says, "Ushchota Pesach oil moed." You have to shech the korban at the Pesach oil moed. So, what is a Pesach? So we say over here that the movi, the hechsher movi, can only be kosher if the entranceway, the opening to the street, to the Rishus Harabim, has a din of a Pesach. So it says we find Pesach by the oil moed. When it says the Pesach oil moed, it's referring specifically to the Pesach of the oil moed, which is the heichal, not the ulam. So it cannot be shechted. It has to be shechted in the, to be kosher, it has to be shechted in the Pesach of the oil moed and the heichal, not in the ulam. So they hold Rabbanan Sarva Kedushas Heichal L'chud Kedushas Ulam L'chud. And therefore, when it says V'chiksi Pesach Ol Moed, a Heichal Ksi is referring to the Heichal. So we only find that what is considered a Pesach, we only find that in regard to the Heichal. The Ulam, we don't see that it's considered to be a Pesach. It's not, doesn't have a halacha of a Pesach. So V'chiksi Pesach Ol Moed, a Heichal Ksi. He holds that they both have the same kedusha, and therefore, when it says Pesach Ol Moed, it's referring to the, not only to the heichal, but it's referring to the ulam as well. And therefore, the opening, the entranceway to the heichal would also, rather to the ulam, the entranceway to the ulam rather would also have a din of a Pesach, just like the heichal. And therefore it's referring to both of them. And therefore, if we find that the height of the ulam is more than 20, then therefore it means a Pesach can be higher than more than 20. So therefore we say that according to Rabbi Yehuda, it can be the height of the, what is the ulam, and higher than 20 is kosher. But according to the Rabbanan, it can only be the height of the heichal, and therefore, if it's higher than 20, it's possible. It's not considered to be a Pesach. Gemara gives another teretz. I can tell you that he also holds that they're considered to be two separate kedushas. It's not considered the same, and therefore Pesach Ol Moed in the Shchuin is talking about the shlit is not referring to the Pesach of the ulam. But why over here do we say it has a din of a Pesach in regards to over here the height? Because because we have a pasuk that says El Pesach Ulam Abayis. And therefore, it says specifically, the pasuk in Yecheskel says specifically that the entranceway to the ulam is considered a Pesach. Rabbanan Ihavaksa calls it El Pesach Ulam Kidakar. According to the Rabbanan, they say if it would have said specifically Pesach Ulam, we would agree with you. But Hashtaksiva Pesach Ulam Abayis, Habayis Apasuach Ulam. Here it doesn't say El Pesach HaUlam. It says El Pesach Ulam Habayis. It means Habayis, the house that's open to the ulam, meaning the entrance of the house, not of the ulam. The entrance of the house of the heichal that's open to the ulam. Now, as Taisus points out over here, there really is no pasuk that says El Pesach Ulam Habayis. There's no pasuk like that. So what do we really mean over here? So Taisus explains it as follows: that there's a pasuk that says Ulam Habayis, and there's another pasuk that says, that's in Yecheskel Mem. In Yecheskel Perek Mem Zayin it says Pesach Habayis. So it says Ulam Habayis, and it says the pasuk says Pesach Habayis. So it's as if they're in close enough proximity, and that they have the same. They're referring to the same things that we can interpret it as saying. This is what Rav Yehuda says, like it says that the pasuk says Pesach Ulam Habayis. And that's why the Rabbi Yehuda interprets it. But the Chum say, if it would have said Pesach Ulam, then we would agree with you. But it doesn't say Pesach Ulam. The Pasuk says Ulam Abayis, and it says Pesach Abayis, so we don't connect the two, and therefore it does not say Pesach in reference to the entranceway of the Ulam. So therefore you can't learn out from the Ulam. So therefore Rabbi Yehuda says you can, and therefore we find that the Pesach of the Heichal was 20 amas and high, but the Ulam was 40. So Rabbi Yehuda says you can learn out and learn out from the Ulam. The Rabbanan say no, you can't, and therefore the limiting height has to be within 20 amas. Frag the Gemara. Well, in any event, we have a kasha. V'hag siv high b'mishkan siv. But this pasuk that we're talking about over here is talking about the Mishkan. And why does that? And the Mishkan is only 10 amos high. So if the pasuk that says that we're saying Ushchata Pesach Oil Moyed, well, that pasuk over there, that's referring to the Mishkan. Now we know the height of the Mishkan, that the Kroshim, were only 10 amos high. So therefore, how can you learn out from the Ulam and the Heichal, where over there, that's the Beis HaMikdash, and that wasn't the Mishkan. So how can we apply that? So the Gemara answers, Ashkan Mishkan the Ikri Mikdash, a Mikdash the Ikri Mishkan. But we find that they're interchangeable. That was sometimes we call the Mishkan a Mikdash and Beis HaMikdash a Mishkan. Diloy Tema Hachi Hadam Arbi Yoram Shmuel. Shlomim Shishchatan Kaidam Psichas Daltas Heichal Psul. He says Yeshech the Korban Shlomim before they open up the doors of the Heichal, they're possible. Shenema Ushchata Bezachol Mayed Bizman Psuchim Lo Bizman Shem Neula. It has to be shechted when the doors are open. It says Pesach Oil Mayed when they're pasuach. I V'Hakik Siv Hahi B'Mishkan Siv. But that pasuk is written about the Mishkan, not the Beis HaMikdash. So therefore, how do we learn that out? Because Ashkan Mikdash Dekri Mishkan, or Mishkan Dekri Mikdash, but we find that the terms are interchangeable. And as Isis explains, and therefore we have halachas that apply to one that we apply to the other also. For instance, that you cannot go in with your shoes and with dust on your feet, that the building of just like the building of the Mishkan is not Teichas Shabbos, the binyan of Beis HaMikdash is not Teichas Shabbos, because we find that the pasuk calls a Mishkan a Mikdash and vice versa. So Bishlam a Mikdash Tikri Mishkan Dechsiv Nasati Mishkan B'Seich. It says that Nasati Mishkan B'Seich, and so we see that the Mikdash is called a Mishkan. That's a reference to the Beis HaMikdash. The pasuk is referring to the Beis HaMikdash. It's talking about the future. It's talking about in the Beis HaMikdash, I will rest. I will put my Mishkan b'seichem. I will put my place Mishkani. And it says Mishkan, and it's in reference to the future Beis HaMikdash. Ela Mishkan Dikri Mikdash Minol, and where do we see that the Mishkan is called a Mikdash? More answers. Maybe you'll say because it says so it says maybe you'll tell me because it says that the Kahasim, the Levim, it says Noise HaMikdash, and it says they carried the Mikdash. So you see, it's a reference talking about the Mishkan and it calls it a Mikdash. Now, how borrowing see? But that when it says over there, when it says that they would carry the Mikdash, that's referring to the Damar Kodesh, referring to the Aron. So, Ela me'acha v'asuli Mikdash v'shachanti b'seicham. It says v'asuli Mikdash, and make for me a Mikdash, and I will dwell there. And that's referring, that pasuk is said in reference to the Mishkan, and says v'asuli Mikdash. So you see that the Mishkan is called a Mikdash.